Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club podcast. My name is Mike Hilty. We hope you enjoyed today's movie discussion. Thanks for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the BTB Movie Club. Welcome back to our old friend Ryan Malo, who's made it after an extended absence. Good to see you, Malo.
Good to be seen. Thanks.
We're here to discuss Everything Everywhere All at Once from 2022. It's movie number 208. This is a Hilty pick, swinging for the fences. Hilty, take it away. Talk to us about everywhere, everything, all of these things all the time, everywhere at once.
Sure. So I picked this mainly because I wanted to, I guess, subvert expectations because Tim told me that if I had any type of a backbone or something like that, that I would pick a Kevin Bacon movie, and I balked at that. I was like, I'm good. So the the other thing too is that I have heard all the discourse about A24.
Oh,
I
yeah.
get it. I do. And this is an A24 movie, so I wanted to have a conversation about that. Plus, I wanted to take a look at this and see if I still enjoyed this as much as I did when I first saw it, and if it would still be like one of my favorite movies of that year. And I still enjoyed it, but maybe the novelty is worn off a little bit. But this also will go down for me as one of the movies where I saw the trailer for this and I was like, nope, this looks stupid. And I did this with this movie and I did that with The Matrix as well because I saw the preview for The Matrix and I was like, this looks dumb. And then when I actually saw it, like, okay, I was dead wrong. Do not judge a book by its cover. So I'm curious to get some thoughts since Dan is not here. Aaron, you're gonna go first because you said you wanted to go second. So I'll slide you up to lead up spot. So what'd you think of this movie? And just give me some of your opening thoughts.
And I'm fine with going first slash second, whatever. I was just making fun of like, oh, we're picking our order now.
That's it, that is exactly what I thought at first as well. But I'm taking you up on that offer.
All right. Don't put it out there if you're not ready. Um, I had seen this before. I watched it, I want to say, in a similar situation. Uh, Everybody had gone to bed. It was probably super late. I was probably drinking a bit and put it on um, the first time and this time. I think I finished it up about 3:22 last night in the AM or this morning. Um, I wasn't a super fan of it the first time I watched it. I had probably maybe dozed off for a minute or two here and there. Um, Watching it this time, I don't know why I had such a hard time following it the first time. I really felt it was disjointed and didn't get a whole lot of what was going on. This time, I really enjoyed it. So I actually wasn't super looking forward to it this time. Not because I hated it or anything. It's because I had seen it, not super enjoyed it. And, you don't usually go back and give that kind of movie a rewatch. I'm glad I did because I really liked it this time. Understood way more of, I don't know, the motivations or what was going on or how it was happening. The jumps were way more followable this time, even though I was probably less sleepy but more drunk. Um, but I really liked it this time. I don't know if I'd put it in like a top 10 or anything, but the amount that I liked it better on the second viewing is I can't quantify it. It's a marked leap. Um, so say it was probably a D plus, C minus. I might even give it a B plus, A minus. Um, that's how much more I liked it this time. As far as anything specific to speak about, um, the acting I thought was great. I liked how um, the short round, who do you become? what's his real name?
Yi Wei Kwan.
Yeah, I'll go with that. His back and forth between the one who knows and the one who doesn't, the one from the being destroyed timeline to the, you know, the regular husband that was just trying to divorce his wife, who was no longer a joy to be with. I really liked his difference in personality between the two. It was subtle, but it was good. It was enough to know what was going on. And I mean, they did the Clark Kent thing, you know, taking off the glasses when he was Superman, and, you know, back to regular old doting husband with the glasses on. Enjoyed the fight scenes, enjoyed the ridiculousness of it. Actually empathized a bit with the I don't want to say the bummer idea, or the feudal nature of life that the daughter was having, the existential crisis. But I kind of got it, you know, the whole idea, as you get older and you learn more things and you know, go through things, it's like you kind of grapple with that a little bit, and you know, some personal beliefs and stuff. You get how maybe none of it really, you know, the cosmic universe, we're a speck on a speck, you orbiting a speck, and, you know, how much does it, but you got to get up every day and kind of find motivation and purpose for yourself. So even if it at the end doesn't matter, hopefully you make it matter to some people around you. But not trying to get too deep in the weeds or philosophical.
I mean,
Um,
if there's a movie to get all deep and philosophical
Right.
with,
It's
I feel like
weedable.
this is pretty high up there.
yeah, but I don't want to, you know, come off the bench, you know, lead off and, you know, get real deep. So save that for the, you know, whoever's batting cleanup. Which I'm not even really sure what number that is.
I was like, he's going
I know
baseball
it's not
analogy.
the
This
last.
doesn't make a lot of sense.
I know it's not the last batter. I'm saying it's fourth. The fourth batter's batting cleanup, right?
That is correct.
That is correct. Yes.
Um,
In
so
this universe.
in this universe. But yeah, I'm going to leave it at, I liked it a lot better this time than the first viewing. The acting was great. Jamie Lee Curtis, you know, was great. I loved her in it the first time as the crotchety old tax lady, but, you know, up and down the board, you know, all the main characters, even to the girlfriend, Becky, was it Becky?
Yeah.
You know, I liked all the characters. The dad, I think we've talked about before, being in different movies. We watched Big Trouble in Little China, right? In this group.
No.
Oh,
No, we didn't.
all right. Well, I've watched it recently.
I think somebody did for Chinatown, or somebody made a joke about that.
Yeah.
Okay. No, but that wasn't the one I watched. The wrong one, was it?
I don't-
All right,
I
because
don't
I've watched
remember
it recently. I watched it in the last year, and I know we've talked about that actor. The one that plays the main bad guy in that movie, being in everything. So I liked him in it too. So anyway, that's where I'm going to leave mine.
Cool. So you mentioned that this was a movie that it kind of leapt up in your, you know, kind of not ranking, but leapt up. Um, do you think a small part of it also was, in addition to the tiredness, maybe it was also the hype as well, that there's no way that something could live up to the hype from all like the good reviews? Because I kind of ran into that situation when I first watched this. I was like, there's no way that this could be this good. Because most of the time with the movie, it's not. And I was pleasantly surprised that it at minimum just matched the hype that I was expecting. So do you think that was a small part of it too?
Oh, absolutely. That played a role. The amount that what did he win? Because didn't him and Brendan Fraser both win something that year? They ended up on stage and they were super happy. So was he like supporting actor and Brendan
Yeah.
Fraser was actor?
Mhm.
You won it for Whale.
Yeah, that's what I figured it was. And I knew they both couldn't win if Brendan Fraser won Best Actor, so he
Mhm.
had to be supporting. Um, but that, and I loved it that he was getting recognition, but it seemed like for a week or two before or after award season, it was just being shoved down our throat. Him running into Indiana Jones, and him running into or Harrison Ford, and him running into Brendan Fraser, and just it was great. But like you said, the whole thing became a little too much before I saw the movie.
Mhm.
So yeah, I did 100% agree with that.
Do you have any other movies like that that the first time you watched it, you were like, eh, and then you rewatched it for some strange reason and it leapt up a lot in your what you thought of it?
Give me a few minutes and I'll chime back
Yeah.
in. I'll have
Okay.
to I have to marinate on this because I know there has been,
Mhm.
something I didn't really love the first time, and for whatever reason, it's come up again and again, and it's like, you know what? I don't hate this movie.
Probably Old Boy.
Mm. Okay. All right. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what you think, or any other movies that you or anybody else has on
Yeah,
that.
I'll
Because
interrupt Tim about it in a few minutes.
okay, that sounds good. Um, Melo, since you're back, let's rip the Band-Aid off and let's get you back in the game. What
All
did
right.
you
Sounds
what did you think of Everything Everywhere All at Once? Had you seen this before? And just give us your thoughts.
Yeah, I had. Real quick to the previous question, Anchorman, actually. I don't know why I thought going into it was going to be something different, and it really didn't resonate the first time. And it's like one of the funniest movies ever. And I don't know, but that was one that for sure, first time through, I was like, man, I don't know what I just saw. And then every time since, very quotable. Anyway, um, I had seen this before, and it was one of those where I knew there was some hype behind it, and then it took a long time. Like for whatever reason, we just didn't get to it until after award season and all of that. And even then, though, like I knew it was highly regarded. I didn't know anything about it. Like I was able to keep that part out, and so in the first viewing, um, really blown away. Absolutely loved it. Just so original, and just the chances they took with a lot of different parts of this are great. I will say both times watching it, I didn't um, like. I had to break it up because I think the first, the first part, the everything, that just setting up the world and setting up like what this whole thing's going to be is so fun and different, and I don't know, just attention getting, and then the emotional part of it, which is done really really well, but just slows down uh, the pacing that they had originally set up. Um, I don't know that if I was gonna have a knock on this in any way, that was something. I finished it today, and that was the thing I was noticing, that whole um, everywhere all at once, or wait, no, is it everywhere? I guess is that middle
Everywhere.
part. Yeah. Um, Again, really, really well done, but there's so much to it and so many different. How many different universes is like 9 or something? Um, that are there, that and it constantly bounces back and forth between like genuinely emotional and then raccoon or what, you know what I mean? Like in the hot dog finger, like it's so weird in that way, but I really do like that. Let me see. Yeah, I was looking at the note. So James Hong is the actor's name who plays the dad, who's been in, he was in 120 movies or whatever, or 320, something like that. It's like crazy. I just wrote legend. Randy effing Newman makes a cameo. in here that I didn't realize. And then I looked at my note and I still had to go back just now when Aaron was talking. I was trying to see where that was. You guys watch I Think You Should Leave with what's his name? Tim something from Detroit, the Detroiters. You guys got to be on that, right? Okay. Anyway, so the guy in the laundromat who's he smells her perfume and it reminds him of his wife's, and he has a great. He's from he did a part on that show. That's all I can see him as is the Cosmic Gumbo guy. But I thought Jamie Lee Curtis was absolutely fabulous. Everybody really, but I mean, just for her to go so outside of what she typically does, I wonder if that was really fun, really liberating. I wonder, when it was a hot dog fingers day on set, like, like how do you go into that, or did they just have a ton of fun with it between takes? I have no idea, but I would assume so. And I'm looking back through the nose. I don't know. There's just a lot of little things. Juju Chewbacca, the whole Raekwon when he with the fanny pack martial arts scene. Like there was just a lot of different things they hit on, and pretty much everything they tried, I thought they succeeded in. They did well. Like I said, I think the one knock maybe it dragged a little bit in that middle portion before getting there, but I mean just everything from googly eyes on a rock, like so strange and unique, and just really cool that they wanted to take chances, and I think by far it paid off. So that's my thoughts.
Do you have a particular multiverse in this that you resonated with the most, or one that you like the best? Because, like you said, there's a lot of them, and they're all unique and different in a lot of ways. So I'm curious, was there any one that kind of you enjoyed the most from a story standpoint, or just one that you thought the funniest, or whatever?
Sorry, there's a dog barking. It just started.
Here we go.
I mean, the central one I think is the one that I enjoyed the most. It was it felt very honest. Hold on. But I guess the one that intrigued me most is the one where they didn't end up together, but they were both clearly successful and then still had that connection. If I was, if there was a sequel or something, like I would want to know more about that.
Interesting. Do you think that there could be ever a sequel to something like this?
If there's money involved, 100%. I
Of
don't think there
course.
should be, but I think there
Mhm.
could be.
They're working on that right now, probably.
Yeah, yeah. I would like for there not to be,
Mhm.
but I mean, I don't know. They took a chance on this and it worked. So who knows?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Because with in an age where Hollywood is so much more risk averse than it was before, and you feel like a lot of the more risky stuff goes to television instead, it it's nice to see Hollywood take a chance on something like this and to be as successful as it was. Anybody else, does anyone else want to see a sequel to this, or see if anything is explained more? Because one question that I had was that if there is something in a movie for any of you that isn't explained, are you okay with that? Just kind of just thinking abstract, because they don't really, they kind of yada yada over the like how everything kind of came to this point where the multiverse like becomes like this big thing. You don't really get any context to that. And so for some people that works, and some people they don't care. Like for some people that works, and some people they mind. So I'm curious, anybody else? have any thoughts on that? Or either or,
No.
because I asked like
No,
five
but Hilty,
questions.
was that a Seinfeld reference you just made?
No, it wasn't.
It
No,
absolutely was.
no, it wasn't.
Yeah. The yada
Okay.
yada, come on now.
Oh, I'm glad to see that
Yeah.
Seinfeld has exclusivity over the phrase yada yada.
I
Well,
would
the way you used it.
Hmm.
I would be interested in seeing some kind of sequel, but not centered in that same universe. Like take a strand and then have a completely different fucking story that has nothing to do with this story, and then have some callbacks to some of the universes that you saw. But that would be a challenge. That would be a very big challenge to do that. It couldn't really be a part two. It would have to be another slice of the multiverse.
Yeah, I think I'd be fine with something like that. Maybe more of a spin-off, but
Hmm.
not like directly tied to this. But that hardly ever happens anymore. So, cool. Well, I was gonna call on Brian, but he left us for a second. So I'll move to uh Matt Smith. Uh I don't know why I just called you Matt Smith because you're the only Matt here right now. Matt, what did you think of the movie?
We don't call
Uh,
him Matt Smith.
I know, but still.
Lots
It's a
of people
verb.
call me Matt Smith. It's like, yeah. Anyway, I had never seen
Sounds
this
made up.
before. Wait, what?
I said it sounds made up.
It does sound made up. It is my real name though. I have been asked that before. Is that your real name? I had to show my ID. Anyway, I had never seen this before. I like that last week I talked about I liked the absurdity of the Grand Budapest Hotel, and Mike said, "Hold my beer. Wait till you see this," because this was definitely absurd. And I think somewhat to your question, Mike, about, are you okay with not filling in everything? I am okay with it in a movie like this because I think most of the yada yadaing, as you put it, in your Seinfeld reference you made, what um it's fine because it doesn't matter. Like a lot of that intricate detail it doesn't matter. That's not what the movie's about, right? Um so I think the acting was tremendous. It was funny. I started watching this. I watched this over like all 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of the weekend. And the first I started watching it Friday night. My wife came downstairs. I was watching the beginning, and I didn't really notice it, but she made a good point. She's like, "Man, what is that noise?" I'm like, "What are you talking about? I'm watching a movie." She's like, "No, it's just noise." Like, and I didn't really think about it. I had to kind of go back and like not watch it again, but kind of think about it. The beginning was very, if I can use the word cacophony, of like voices, and we're speaking Mandarin, and we're speaking what's the other language?
English.
Well, no, I meant the other dialect of Cantonese. Is that the
Sorry.
other dialect? And it was very much a cacophony of noise before they kind of settled down. So thought that was interesting. And then I had to come back and finish it Saturday, so I kind of lost that, and then I just thought of it. But um, no, I like how they handled the multiverse. I think, some Marvel execs might be watching this and going, "Damn it, we screwed this up. We totally could
They
have done way better."
they
You know,
helped produce it. The Russo brothers helped
they
produce
did,
this.
but I mean, how do you watch this movie and not think, "Man, we could have done a lot better job. Like we could have, maybe we
Oh
should
yeah, for sure.
maybe
Because you look at some of the Marvel movies that they've done that involve the
oh,
multiverse, and it just makes you scratch your head
well, yeah." And
a
I was
little bit.
reading, I think, and I didn't do a ton of research, but I think this came out right around the same time as Doctor Strange 2. Is that right? Does that sound right?
Mm, yeah.
And which that had people have opinions on that movie, I'm sure either way. Not one of their better ones, I think, would be the general, and just anyway. So I think it was a great take on the multiverse, and I'm fine with them not explaining everything. I'm okay with they even I mean, MacGuffin, whatever you want to call it, whatever. The everything bagel was funny. I thought that was a funny pun. Like she put everything in the bagel. That was the joke. Um, but she still wasn't happy, right? That was the whole thing. Like she did all this and she still wasn't happy. And I think that definitely, I don't know about you guys, that's what I felt like the message was it doesn't matter how much stuff you have or how much stuff you do. That's not what matters. And so I thought that was very unique. Felt somebody said The Matrix felt very Matrixy. Like, hold on, let me download Kung Fu really quick, so I can fight these people. I actually thought Jamie Lee Curtis was spectacular in this movie. Did she get nominated for?
She won the
She won.
Academy Award.
She won for this? Okay.
She won over a very heavily favored Angela Bassett to win this, but
Wow.
her and Michelle Yeoh, they kind of came up late because it was kind of a foregone conclusion that Ke Huy Quan was going to win Best Supporting Actor for this because he had swept literally everything. Every award season, there's one person that just sweeps everything, and it's like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's fine. But Michelle Yeoh and Jamie Lee Curtis kind of got some momentum later on, and they both ended up winning Oscars for that because Kate Blanchett for Tar was heavily favored for Best Actress, and then Michelle Yeoh said something. It was a bit controversial when she said it, but she was like, she's already got an Oscar, and she's got all these great roles. Like, I don't have one yet, so like lobbying for herself and like making a last minute pitch for it definitely worked out in her favor in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, I think she deserved it. I think she did a great job. I mean, between the different versions of herself she had to play, and I mean, she had to put those stupid hot dog fingers on, so she gets bonus points for that. So that was come on, that had to be when that first happened. That had to be the creepiest part of the movie, right? Like hot dog finger universe is weird, right? Like that was
To
weird.
that point.
Yeah, true. Okay, fair.
There was like
Anyway.
a montage where they're dancing around and had the fingers in each other's mouths
Oh,
and stuff
and the
like that.
mustard and the ketchup. What was that? Oh my gosh, it was like whoa. If it wasn't such a good movie, that might have taken me out of it for a little bit. I was might have had to turn it off, but
Well,
no,
it's not a coincidence that they're lesbians in the hot dog universe, right?
I mean, I wasn't gonna say it, but okay. Aaron decided to say it. That was Aaron Lashbrook, everybody. If anybody
Why you gotta call
Oh,
it
we all have
out?
last names today, huh?
Well, you guys said
Yeah.
my full name every time you talk to me. Anyway. So yeah, no, great pick. I'm glad I watched it. I probably need to go back and watch it again just to catch some of the random things that I'm sure I didn't pick up on the first time. Um, but yeah, so great pick. I'd heard a lot about it. I think it lived up to the hype. I think it did. Between the absurdness and sort of the strange nature of the material, it ended up being a really solid movie. So really enjoyed it.
Well, good. I'm glad for that. Um, do you have any other like multiverse style movies that you like? And was there anything about this specifically from a multiverse perspective that kind of just worked? Because sometimes like we talked about with the Doctor Strange multiverse of madness, it didn't really work at times, but this one did. And you mentioned the absurdism of it. Is that the reason why this worked, or is there something else
I think a
there?
little bit. I think they didn't try to over explain it. They didn't try to fit every single um what am I trying to say? Like not every universe had to make sense. Not everything had to be explained. Yes, it's a movie. You're gonna have to suspend your disbelief for a second and just okay, the premise of the movie is this. That's what they're going with. We don't have to give you every single little detail about it, nerd. Like you don't
Shut up, nerd.
shut up, nerd. You don't have to understand why the ship has a warp drive, you Star Trek nerds or whatever from Galaxy Quest. Like I think that's one of the levels it works because it doesn't it's not going to explain itself to you, right? Like I feel like Marvel, one thing they did is they almost tried too hard to like fit everything in this multiverse idea and explain every little bit. Well, that's okay. It doesn't matter that this universe dies, even though that's where Thor was, because it's like you don't have to explain all that. Like infinite multiverse, got it. That's where you can start there and just kind of let it organically develop. So yeah, I think that's one of the things for sure. The absurdness, and not even pretending to make it like, yeah, we're gonna put all this science into it and make it sound legit. It's like, no, we don't need to do that. We have hot dog fingers. That's and you know what? In another
We're
universe,
covered. We're covered. Yeah.
yeah, in another universe, we're just rocks. There's no people. They're just rocks that get to talk to each other somehow. Somehow they get to talk to each other. That's it. And I think that's what makes it work. It doesn't take itself too seriously, right? It uses the multiverse idea as a platform to get their message across, which is way more important than anything ever making sense in their multiverse, for that matter. So I don't know if I
So,
answered your question, but
oh yeah, yeah, you're good. So a lot of people have mentioned Jamie Lee Curtis, and Jamie Lee Curtis spent 17 minutes on screen, and she got an Oscar
that's
for it.
crazy. That's
Um,
crazy.
because I think her and like Anthony Hopkins share, you know, least amount of screen time and maximum amount of impact. Um, do you do you think that, having someone on how how am I trying to phrase this? Because she definitely deserved to win her Oscar. Um, and she was playing against type because this is very different from what she's normally done before. So I guess I'm kind of curious, um, for her specifically, what was it about her performance that kind of resonated the most with you? Because it's, she's the grumpy old tax lady in one universe, and then she's, getting her finger or her hot dog finger sucked in another one. Um, so what was it about the Jamie Lee Curtis's performance for you that kind of resonated?
For me, I think, sh you mentioned the tax person, like she lulled me in, like she sounded like a boring uh tax expert who you kind of felt bad for, but kind of also wanted to smack around a little bit, like shut up, like we get it. Your life sucks, She kind of looked the part, she acted the part, but then to watch her, not her, but like acting wise, flip the switch and now she's this zealot for Joe Boo or whatever, and has the bagel on her face, and she's ready to smack you with a wrench. And then she's hot dog lady, and then like to me, every time she was a different person in a different universe, I believed it. I kind of believed that she was that person. So that's for me anyway. That's why I think she deserved it.
Anybody else who had thoughts on Jamie Lee Curtis and kind of just what stuck out the most from this particular performance for her?
Well, Matt's right, just as far as the range and how she threw herself into every single different like role within that she had within that role, that very different sub role. But I guess I'm just surprised that it was only 17 minutes. I felt like she was on screen all the time, and she wasn't, and it's because she's such a big presence in this movie. I'm just surprised to hear that stat.
That's also very close in time to what's his name for A Few Good Men, Jack Nicholson, when he won that. That was 17 minutes or something like that, also, which is
Was it William H. Macy or something for Fargo? I thought there was one like that too. Or maybe the other way around, Francis McDormand. I don't know. But I thought her vulnerability, as far as like what she was wearing and the haircut,
Mhm.
I thought that was just interesting. There was the scene where she talks about being good with their feet or whatever, and she like does a loving like uh, motion like on her face with the foot was hilarious. And the other thing, not like why she deserves it, but something with her character that I thought was hilarious that they did. So she has that wrist brace or whatever. When she's playing the piano, she's got one on her foot
Yeah.
or ankle. Uh, just little stuff like that they 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 did very well, and she took that and made it even more.
All right, good stuff. Thanks, everyone. Brian, I was gonna call on you next, but then you got up and walked away. So now you're back, and tell me, what'd you think of Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Well, I too had seen this before, and I watched it in two parts and did not like it. When you picked it last week, I was like, oh, man, and watched it again and really liked it. I don't know why. I mean, like Aaron and I actually ran into each other Thursday and kind of was like, you know, gotta watch it. But there was so much about it that I guess I didn't remember or didn't get the first time and picked up on a lot of things. This movie's all about Evelyn's relationships with all the other characters and how she's dealing with things. The uh, way her husband, was kind of there for her. And the whole idea of the divorce was to strike up a conversation. He couldn't find a way to talk to her. And he said, his friend did this and it got them to start talking. So he started this lawsuit for a divorce and it didn't go, he's thinking this, maybe we can start now actually having a conversation besides when you're mad or need tax forms or you need me to do something around the laundromat. Um, you could tell her resentment where, back in the day, she made the decision to go with him and her father ruled her out. And then you get to see the different world where she didn't go with him and became this great star. So all the stuff that they did, and they did this multiverse to the nth power because like a lot of the other universes, it's slightly this or that, and there's not, but this was, basically every decision fractured into a new multiverse. So there's just millions of different multiverses in this. And then to have them all in one person, like Jobu and now Evelyn, it's that's why there is the power involved with Jobu, and they're thinking that she's trying to destroy things because she made the everything bagel, but she wanted Evelyn created, like she said, so she had somebody she could share the experience with because no one else understands it the way she did. And Evelyn was the one who basically created her. So um, I just thought watching the relationships that how she worked with all of them and trying, hiding the daughter being a girlfriend or a lesbian from the grandpa and everything she went through. And just the first act was, you know, really well done. They, opened the door to the next act where they were resolving things. I mean, just all of it was done very well. Um, I did have a question for everyone because I kind of think, unless I missed it and I wasn't drinking, so J- Jobo creates the everything bagel so it would destroy all of the Joy characters in the multiverse and destroy. And she goes in, Evelyn lets her go into it. She goes into the bagel. Why was Joy still around afterwards? Or did Jobu not go fully into the bagel?
She reached back out at the end.
I think
Okay.
the bagel process takes a little time, is how I looked at it. And during the time the bagel was doing its process, she crawled back out of it.
Okay. So
I think the
I,
best explanation that I can give is "shut up, nerd," and just
okay.
be.
Yeah, they went.
be
There
no,
you go.
I went with the bagel process taking time. That's what
That's
I
it was
But-
nothing. There was
but
you were
Brian,
just speaking.
I get what you're asking though, because there are certain things in this that the first time watching it, I was like, wait a second, this doesn't make sense. And then after a while, I was like, I'm just gonna be here to enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Well, I
Yeah.
think, and Brian, maybe you're doing the same thing. I kind of saw the bagel as being a black hole. and they did the whole Event Horizon, and she gets pulled in, and we all know from every science movie we've ever watched, there's no coming back from that. So I was kind of in the same place, but she clearly like unspaghettificationed herself and got out. So
I don't think the Humane Society backed this movie after the dog scene. So
I think that's a safe assumption, and that I think that part was the part that I laughed the hardest at because I just was not expecting it at all.
oh no, yeah.
I think that's like because that comes in right after kind of a lot of the stuff kind of starts to really go off the rails. So I don't know why I wasn't expecting it. Maybe it's the Jenny Slate of it all as well.
Big
Again,
nose.
just another another person who's just making the most of very limited screen time that she has. But I, yeah, I would agree with you.
I did read somewhere Quan did like 90% of the stunts with the fanny pack. That whole action scene, he did most of it.
He
I
was
don't.
he was a stunt coordinator for a long time, and he didn't want to get back in front of the camera. But this one, it just he was looking for something that just didn't portray him as just like a adult version of Short Round, even though it kind of
Yeah,
does a little bit
a
at
little bit.
times. But when they kind of started to explain to him about the branching off and all the other universes, he was like, "Oh, so I get to actually act a little bit. Okay, cool.
I'll
I'm
tell
in."
you,
Most
he.
voice.
I do. What, Matt? I'm
I
sorry.
was just I just said it's mostly his voice because he still sounds like Short Round.
Yeah.
Unfortunately for him. Sorry, Brian.
No. He was one though that definitely when he switched character, when the Alphaverse version of him took over, he physically played it different, and you could see he did a great job on that. It was kind of reminded me of McAvoy in Split, where he didn't even have to say words, and you could tell it was a different character. So he absolutely deserved the Academy Award, especially looking at who he went up against. But I think Angela Bassett deserved it over Jamie Lee Curtis, and didn't Judy Dench? She won the Academy Award for like 8 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in Shakespeare
Uh,
in Love.
Shakespeare in Love. Okay. It
Mhm.
was, but no, like I said, I'm glad. I'm absolutely thrilled that I rewatched it again because I did enjoy it, and it was a really good pick. Thank you.
So a lot of people kind of similar to Jamie Lee Curtis have mentioned Ki Wei Kwan. And Brian, I'm curious from you, is there anybody out there who does that you would like to see a Hollywood style comeback similar to what Ki Wei Kwan has gone through? Um, Anybody out there who's like, where's this guy been? I want this person to come back.
Hmm. Aaron, did you ever come up with anything so you could answer while I
Gonna say,
Yeah,
ponder?
but I was
Hilty's
really
asking
hoping
some
to interrupt Tim with it.
thinkers.
But no, I've actually put some thought into it, and so I'm gonna stall for you, Brian. Um, there's been movies that I could name, and like looking at some lists, trying to get some ideas. There's been movies that I like better, and I mean, it's kind of universal, like The Usual Suspects, Fight Club, um, Inception. Those are movies that I definitely understood better and definitely liked the second time through more than the first time. But I liked them the first time too. Like I really liked, all of them the first time through. I just, you get that twist at the end, and then you're like, holy crap! Now I got to watch it again. And some of them I watched right again. Um, but I have a hard time coming up with one that I would try to put as similar to this. Like, really didn't care for it. Like I said, I'd probably give this a D plus the first time I watched it. And then I went and watched it again um, for whatever reason. Now, there's been movies, there's a whole list of movies that over time, like I thought I loved, and 20, 15, 30 years later, you watch them again, you're like, holy shit, what was I thinking? You know, there's probably a few hurtful ones in this room if I was to name them. But as far as you know, this being such a jump in likability, I can't think of another one that's even close. It's even in the ballpark. So, was that enough time, Brian?
No.
Okay. To stall some more, as you guys were talking, I'll come in so that I won't interrupt Tim at all, probably. Two things through other people's conversations. I grew up in a time, and a lot of the guys here grew up in a time where we didn't have multiverse movies. We had time travel movies. And thinking about it as you guys talk, switching to the multiverse framework frees up a lot of that stuff that we were taught about, you know, you can't run into yourself or it'll create, you know, blah, blah, blah. It'll ruin the whole thing. So it's almost like, I don't know if all this new multiverse stuff is just a way to tell a time travel story without having to, you know, shut up nerd half the audience, you know, because not even Neil deGrasse Tyson can be like, well, in a multiverse, it's like, shut up, you don't know. You know, you can have Einstein's theory of relativity for time travel, but you know, this is warp drive stuff. Go ahead and argue with me, you know, because it doesn't exist. You can't win. Anything yet, Brian?
No.
Okay, so I can keep.
I don't
going
have an
with
answer.
One more.
No, you can stop.
No, I got one more question. This will be for everybody. Hey, I have not
like that
gone on
last
a
take.
tangent at all. Like I've stayed focused. I've been very coherent. Not even
Our group
slurred a
became an
word.
AA meeting.
Yeah, what's going on here? I'm drinking water.
Tim
Brian's
Tim's
not
water.
drinking anything.
My question is, because it also came up at the end, kind of Brian and somebody else, but not touched on in this way. One of what's the mom's name?
Evelyn.
Evelyn's
Michelle. Yeah.
main thing going back and forth, and you know, the big conflict with her dad was, why did you let me go? You know, I had so much potential in this and that. And basically we saw that her life would be better, is hard to say, but would have been more financially sound and more
Like more accomplished.
more accolades if she wouldn't have. But then she's going to let her daughter leave at the end. The thing that she wanted her dad to stop her from doing. You know, I just that, and it's not a one-to-one thing, but I thought there could have been a cooler tie, or they were trying to make a tie that didn't land, that I wish they would have. Not that I need everything fleshed out to me, because I don't. I liked how the movie went, but it was like I wasn't sure what they were trying to say right there, or if there was a message about, you know, her letting the daughter leave, which to me was a reenactment of her dad letting her leave. But Melo, you look like you had something to say about it.
Yeah, I was feeling kind of the same thing, and then I never hear him anyway. Her comment was, why'd you let me leave so easily, to her dad? And because I was thinking the same thing, and then like she was clearly fighting for her daughter, and at one point she's just like, just let me go. And you know, as a parent or whatever, like, okay, you know, or at least okay for now, is kind of where I came to terms with it.
Yeah, and I got that out of it too. You know, I just like, I was like, oh, was that supposed to be it? Did I, you know, kind of thing, or was it a bigger picture? Like I said, that they didn't land, or that I missed altogether. But I totally agreed. By the time she was like, just let me go, and very emotional scene, you know, it's like, yeah, you got, you know, how far do you go the other way till you damage her the other way, you know? So it was a very thoughtful movie, you know, thought provoking movie. So that's all I got, Brian. I'm done.
Me too.
No.
I don't have an answer. I don't know the mythical actor that I would like to see performing again.
Okay.
I don't have one.
That's fine. There's
Judd
nothing
Nelson.
wrong.
There's no wrong answers.
Judd Nelson.
Judd Nelson. Sean Connery. Yeah.
All right. Wilden, You're up.
Right. Wow, what a ride. This I love this. I had never seen this movie before, and I wasn't really sure what to expect because I actually didn't know anything about it at all. I just knew that it won a lot of Oscars and a couple of the actors that were involved. Everybody's already talked about how amazing the acting was. I'm right on, I mean, right there with you guys. I thought the effects were pretty good too. I mean, there's that scene where they've got the mother and the daughter and they're going through like multiverses just so fast and they have, it's almost a little bit of a strobe effect, but they had all the at some point I'd love to go back and just like maybe like frame by frame just see all the different little backdrops or whatever they had for that one little scene there. But yeah, no, I the effects were fantastic, but geez, what writing for a story? Like what a story. Um, I guess it's not a whole lot to say that hasn't already been said, but other than, I thought that the kind of disjointed like nature of this movie kind of was its strength. When usually a lot of times that's the weakness. I know it's kind of been said too, but when you're watching a movie, I don't do this on purpose, but a lot of times sit there and I'm like, oh, okay, this is the message of this movie. Oh, okay, this is what this movie's about. Oh, okay, and there are several times, especially at the end, it seems like they switch it up on you almost, every few minutes where it's like, actually, no, this is the message of the movie. But then every time they switch it, that new message builds on the last one. And then when they finally come around to the final message of like, let's be happy with what we have here, family and the little you have kind of thing. And the way that they bring the whole thing full circle from um, when the daughter's the Tupaki is you when she said the villain's perspective, the villain's motivation, saying her philosophy is nothing matters, and she says it in that way that's just like very depressing and like fuck it, do what you want, nothing matters. It's very sad. And then to bring that all the way through all these different themes and all these different messages along the way that they keep just swerving you on to come all the way back to Evelyn saying nothing matters, but that same phrase meaning something completely different and in a very sweet way was just like, wow. And it's been a big few days for my family, so I emotions are running high for me, so I was in tears at the end of it. Um, but I just loved it. I thought this was absolutely fantastic. They do the same thing with a lot of different aspects. There's kind of another thing about like, Matt, you were talking about how it's like you don't really need everything explained. I don't know if you can explain everything. And again, that's kind of the charm of this movie. It's like there it breaks all the rules. Melo, you said earlier too, it takes a lot of chances and it's or maybe I don't know, somebody said it was took a lot of chances. But like even if you're thinking about like, well, who's the villain? Well, okay, well, it's Jobu Tupaki, but is it? Well, no, she's also, she's the one they're trying to, and like, and then after after Evelyn kind of decides, oh, I'm going to become like you to try and defeat you, and then suddenly she starts seeing things from her daughter's perspective, and then the grandpa in the Alphaverse, suddenly it looks like, oh, maybe they're kind of the villains here. And it even gets to the point towards the end where it's like the grandpa's is like, oh yeah, he's okay, so he's the villain. But then even he has the moment of like, oh yeah, no, you're right. It's all these just completely disjointed one to another type things are actually very, very well connected and just the most impressive web of writing I think I've ever seen for a movie. I was blown away. This is probably in my top 10 favorites at this point. I it might be. I don't know. I'll have to watch it again to see if I can actually like back that up. Someday I'll watch it again, but from a first view, I haven't had that pleasant of an experience that maybe not pleasant might not be the right word, but just like I haven't been that impressed with a movie in a long time on first viewing. I was blown away. And I'm glad it won the Oscars that it did. Because, sometimes when you have movies that have more of a sci-fi type element into it and everything, people are like, yeah, it's not real, like acting. They're not gonna. But it was fantastic. Anybody that won an award, I thought, deserved it for this. Not considering any of the competition in it, but like it was, yeah. I see why this won the Oscars. It did, and I really, really enjoyed it. So thanks for picking it.
Yeah, you're right. Genre movies don't really get the love that they sometimes deserve from an Oscars perspective. And it shows when they like a lot of the people that won, they were genuinely happy and just very proud of the work that they had done with this because and I guess this is where the A24 of this comes in because there aren't a lot of studios that would have taken a chance on a movie like this, but A24 did. And I'm wondering, has anybody's opinion of A24 gone up, down, stayed the same since watching this, or because I,
So
I
when I
feel
when
like
I
I feel like there's very polarizing ideas of A24 in this group, which is fair because A24, like there's a lot of misses for
so
A24. There's just a lot of out there, but go ahead, Wilton.
so when I first joined this group, the second movie I ever watched in this group was A24. It was Midsummer. And, I had even just with that, I had the experience of not enjoying it while I watched it, but that's because it was so unpleasant of an experience. It's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable. And when I heard other people talking about it, I kind of gained a new appreciation for it. But anyways, that conversation came up real early, and so the whole polarizing aspect, and some people that just hate A24 in this group, and I kind of was like, oh, okay, because I hadn't really paid that much attention to studio stuff. Like I knew Sony kind of likes to drop the ball with shit, but other than that, I wasn't really paying a lot of attention to like I didn't really know what A24 was in detail until started in this group. Um, so since then, I've only liked it more and more. Sorry to the detractors of A24 and this, but I've been pretty impressed with a lot of the stuff I've had. I know that's not all hits, but ev no studio has all hits.
Yeah, and it's just they've carved out a niche for themselves that they're gonna pick some weird them and Neon in particular. They're the last like bigger of the smaller independent studios because you would think that A24 would get scooped up by one of these bigger studios and just be like, well, we're just gonna release it and just take credit for this. But thankfully that hasn't been the case. You
So
mentioned
hang on.
oh, go
So
ahead.
the second movie I ever watched in this group was The Whale, and it's an A24 movie.
Mhm.
And it wasn't a very pleasant watch because of the
No.
subject matter. And it sounded like Mike was reading my script for this. Um, but I think, and this has come up, and Hilty was here after me, but I do understand that there's been disparaging marks about A24, wink, wink, and whatever. Since I've been here, they've all been awesome. I didn't know what A24 was before I was in this group, and I think we've only watched good A24 movies. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I don't have the experience. I don't know what the bad ones were that you guys watched before me, but you know, I like A24 as far as what I've seen.
Lighthouse made a mark.
Yeah.
Is that the one?
That's
That was
Heredity.
things early
in,
on.
in
Yeah.
everybody's defense,
And
yes,
and
that's a good
Heredity was,
Heredity was shit.
yeah, that was something.
I liked it.
Yeah, I
I
know.
like I liked
I
what
got
was the AI one?
I like both of them.
What was the AI
Ex
one?
Ex Machina.
Ex
Ex
Machina.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
good.
That was
pretty
one of my
good.
picks because I didn't know what A24 was before that.
I
So
Mhm.
To answer your question, Mike, I feel like because of the group, I have sort of been able to forgive the Lighthouse and Heredity.
Well, The Northman too. What was it called? The Northman?
Was that A24?
Yeah, that was mine.
Oh, never mind. I gotta reconsider. Hold on. I gotta do some more calculations.
Yeah.
Hold on.
I remember that conversation being a rough one. They're like, what the fuck is going on with these movies?
A24 certainly knows how to subvert expectations in a lot of way because you look at a movie like The Northman and you're like, this is going to be a cool Viking movie. And it's like, whoa, this
No.
is not at all what I thought it was going to be. And Aaron, the question that I asked you, the answer that I have for that is I saw the TV Glow like on my trip to New Zealand, and boy, that was one where I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, this is not at all what I was expecting it to be. And then I rewatched it. I was like, okay, I like this. I like this a lot better. Maybe I was just, pissed that I was on like a 13-hour flight. But yeah, that was one, and that's another one from A24 that I was like, I don't get it. I don't see it. I don't understand. And then I rewatched it, thought it was better, and then kind of read up on it. I was like, oh, okay. No wonder I didn't get it the first time around. Um, so yeah. But Wilden, I'm so glad that you mentioned the effects of this. 14 million dollar budget for this. Only 14 million. And this grossed worldwide 143 million dollars, which for A24, that's one of their highest grossing movies of all time globally. And to think that this could have a 14 million dollar budget and a movie like Joker Folie à Deux has like a 200 million dollar plus budget and couldn't even make any of that back. Um, Hollywood, am I right? So uh Tim, go ahead. Go ahead.
But real quick, my last thought is I've heard you say this before, Hilty, but this is the first time where I thought this as I was watching is like there needs to be an Oscar category for stunt for like
Oh,
stunt
abs-
uh
yeah.
for stunt doubles. Like I just and just for stunt work. Yeah, I don't know. It hit me while I was watching this movie. Like, yeah, no, that's absolutely a thing that needs to happen.
Yeah, there's between this, any of the Mission Impossible movies, and even this year, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie The Fall Guy, but the stunt work in it is fantastic. And we've got categories for literally everything else out there. Like a fucking animated documentary short is like a category. Like how much more granular can you get before it's like, why can't we recognize stunts? So yeah, good call out for that because the stunt work in this is really good and very practically done. And it the stunt work is helped out by the editing in this because it's not like cut to death like a lot of modern day action movies are. Um so yeah, I fully I'm glad that there's always a movie out there that's like, yep, this needs to be recognized for like this particular category. So appreciate that shout out. um Tim, go ahead, bring us home.
Okay. I'm a little fragmented on this. I have not seen it before. And knowing that I was out of town this weekend, I tried to watch this in a couple of different times. And so I watched part of this on Wednesday, part of it Thursday at about 1 a.m., and then watched the last 50 minutes of this right up until we got on here today. And this really isn't the kind of movie where you want to watch some of it and then skip 3 days and then come back and pick up where you left off. It just doesn't work. So I'll give you what I have, but I think me going last year is kind of like when the team's already scored 50 points and they put in the backup quarterback. I think that's my MVP candidacy today. Um,
Are you
I
are you are you making a Detroit Lions
I
reference
was,
right now?
yes, I was, yeah.
I was gonna say that was a nice Easter egg for the line.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm,
Yeah,
okay.
and it's been a few minutes since we said hot dog fingers, and I just want to say hot dog fingers one more time to stay consistent.
Mm.
I was I did a little as I like to call it, crouching tiger, hidden schizophrenia was how I was describing this thing. Um, Here's what I liked. I talked to Matt Smith about about this a little bit after I had seen the first, I don't know, 20 minutes, is that I really like when you do something that's this far out there, and this is out there, you get to make up your own rules for how the universe is work, or the universe, or the universes, however you want to look at it, and then play it out in real time. So this starts out where Evelyn starts experiencing an awareness of more than one universe, and you get to learn the rules at the same time she does. And I really like when movies have a good concept and get to do that, because you get very interested and you're trying to figure stuff out as the character is, so you're kind of on the journey with the character. I do like that. um I wrote down that you picked this for the theme Kevin Bacon's 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, and turn it into 1,000,000 degrees of everything all over the universe. Well played with the theme there. I wrote down Toe playing piano is bullshit. Um, some of these are reactions to some things that you guys said. I think Matt Smith said hold my beer. I felt like this was more like hold my bong. Um, because I'm trying to figure out how this started. And I looked up the writers, because I was like, okay, somewhere, sometime, a mother and daughter got high as fuck, and the daughter made an everything bagel, and the mom was pissed about it. And they were like, you totally got to write this. Um, so I looked up these writers, Daniel Kwan and Daniel Schneinert. They've been working on this since 2010. It took them 12 years to put this movie together. And so when you think about all of that background stuff, I think they worked on this for a long, long time, as far as talking about the rules that we don't get to understand. Like, I love our shut up nerd comment. Hilty brought that to us. But the ones who write it actually have to nerd out a bit and have some feeling for what the rules are, even though they're not going to give them to you. So they probably had to sketch out a whole bunch that didn't even get used in the movie. And I think that's pretty fascinating, especially if they spent 12 years on it. Let's see. Waymond Wang, that's our guy's name, Waymond Wang. I was trying so hard not to laugh at that, you know. But the one of the producers' name is Wang. And so I think he had some influence on that. And just, we're at a point where doing impressions of other people's accents is kind of frowned upon. But the characteristic of Asian accents, one of the jokes was they turn every R into a W as you're, doing the impersonation or whatever. And I've never heard anybody named Wayman before, but I've heard a lot of people named Raymond. And I was like, they're making a play on, they're making a subtle play on something here. And I thought it was pretty cool. Jamie Lee Curtis reminded me a lot of how well she did in The Bear, because she plays a pretty crazy person in The Bear also, and aggressive and ugly, like her face is just all messed up. And um I don't know if somebody like kind of nudged her in a direction for her career, but I like it. Like, she's really embraced that, and when we've talked about that quite a bit here. So I won't go on about that. I did write down, or thought, Hilty, as soon as you suggested we're going to watch this movie, my first reaction to it was, Brian's going to hate this. Because it's just like in the realm of stuff that Brian wouldn't like. So it's interesting to hear how that played out. I liked it. I feel like having watched it for the first time in 3 separate segments really hurt my ability to process it. So, and I just finished it before we got on here. So I need processing time. So I didn't love it, but I did really like it. And I don't know that I fully, once again, just processed it. So it's really fun for me to hear you guys talk about it and what you took away from it, because some things I hadn't thought about at all. So, yeah, I think I'm going to shut that down right there. That's my 2 cents about everything, everywhere, all at once. Uh, Very creative, very interesting. Liked it, didn't love it. That's where I'm at.
So what I heard from that is you hated this movie, and that's
No,
fine.
no,
It's all good.
no.
I get it. It's not for everybody.
I hated
It's all good.
Midsummer. I'll tell you that. I did not care for Midsummer at all. If we're talking the A24 thing, I was okay with The Lighthouse. Um, I liked Heredity. I looked at it as more of a comedy. Like that was supposed to be kind of a horror movie, but I giggled a lot while watching that. Um, and most of them
A
I've
lot
been
of good things to say about Midsummer during that conversation.
yeah. Most of them I've been okay with, but I don't think I've watched an A24 where I was like, I love this. I see what they're doing. This is just groundbreaking stuff. Most of it is like, okay, I see what you're doing. You're getting weird and artsy, and I can roll with that. Some of them I've liked more than others, but none of them have been like this one. This was game changing for me. I love this on this giant level, and I would include this movie on it. But yeah, it definitely doesn't mean I didn't like it because I did.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear anything that you said. All I remember is that you said you hated this movie, and it's
Okay.
all good.
All right.
So you mentioned the writers, the Daniels, as they're affectionately known
The
as,
Daniels, yeah.
and yeah, they shot up in my estimation as somebody that I'm going to be on the lookout for from this point forward. Because the only other movie that they wrote and directed before this, the feature-length film, was the movie Swiss Army Man. Has anyone
Okay.
ever heard or seen that one?
Mm-mm.
Heard of it, never saw it.
Yeah, Swiss Army Man is the one where Paul Dano, yes, Paul Dano is kind of pulling like a Weekend at Bernie's thing with Daniel Radcliffe as a dead body, and it's just him on this island and just the two of them together. Um, it's kind of fucked up, but it's actually really good. And they're actually very heavily involved in the Skeleton Crew, the new Star Wars show. So I'll be very curious to see what kind of spin that they can put on that. I don't know how heavily involved they are, but I'm very curious about that. So, um, yeah, that's that. I mean, the only other thing that I could add is that from a writing perspective, I do think that kind of the big quote from this is, in another in another universe, if if all that we are is just doing like laundry and taxes, I'd be fine with that. I think that's going to go down as like one of the best movie quotes probably of the last like 20 years or so, and it's going to go down as like one of the
Yeah.
better quotes and better moments that we'll see in the 21st century. So yeah, to wrap up, still I was looking back and saw that for the 2022 list that I had, this was number one, followed by Top Gun, Maverick, Nope, The Batman, and Jackass Forever. That was my top five for that year. And yeah, I'm glad that everybody at minimum tolerated it like Tim did because he hated this movie, and everybody else at enjoyed it more than they were expecting. So I'm very glad for that.
I don't say false statements about you guys.
Tim, at one point,
Uh,
did you assert that the producer imposed his wang on us?
Yeah, he sure did.
I want to make sure we were clear on that.
Yeah.
That's
Solid.
Never mind. Did who was talking? Somebody was talking about effects. Do you see that it was like five guys doing the effects, learning off of YouTube?
Really?
Like they didn't. That's how they saved money on the budget. Is they just learned how to do it from YouTube and they just did it, and it looks pretty good. So maybe that's the way to go. Also, did you see they based Jamie Lee Curtis on a stock photo? I'm gonna send it to you right now. It's great. This is great.
Well, um, Jamie Lee Curtis and kind of like the choices that she's made.
Isn't that terrific?
Well
That's-
played. Well played.
Should make this the thumbnail for when
There you go.
we release this. Jamie Lee Curtis, kind of with some of the choices that she's making, she kind of reminds me a little bit of what like Hugh Grant is doing right now because I just saw the Heretic not too long ago, and I really enjoyed that, and I'm really liking this late stage Hugh Grant where he hates everything that he's doing, but it's It's all so good. It's so good because between this Wonka, where he's fucking Oompa Loompa, and then Dungeons and Dragons, like keep doing what you're doing, Hugh, and it's the same thing with Jamie Lee Curtis. Just keep doing what you're doing because it's great stuff. Yeah, that's all I got. Back to you, Tim, who hated this movie. Oh, Mela, did you have something else or?
Yeah, two things. So I don't know how we got here, but Hereditary, not Heredity.
Oh yeah.
That makes more sense.
I
Actually.
mispronounce words all the time.
You know, anyway. And then I remember like 10 years ago or something, my wife pointed it out, but Jamie Lee Curtis, and I'm sure, obviously you get past 30 as an actress in Hollywood and, it's the roles are not there or whatever, but her whole thing was like no plastic surgery, no, like I'm just gonna be me and do my thing. And it seems to be working out. So kudos to her.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's
indeed.
survived on that Activia money for a long time, doing
Yeah.
Probably doesn't hurt either.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny to think of her in doing these kind of roles, to your point, Melo, and thinking about like the True Lies scene where she's strip teasing and stuff. Like this is a totally different person. Yeah, for sure. And I agree. Good for her. Okay, so that'll put a bow on movie number 208, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Schizophrenia. And so Wilden is up for a new mini theme here. We're gonna have some of the guys who have been in this group for a shorter amount of time pick some rewatches, and we weren't recording them anyway, so it'll be a first time listen for people listening, which is outstanding. Wilden, what do you got?
All right, I looked over the list, and there were a few that like I have seen before that I would have loved to be here for that conversation. There were several of those, but I wanted to pick something I hadn't seen, so we are going with the critically acclaimed coffee. I'm just kidding. We're gonna watch Parasite.
Okay. Coffee and cigarettes.
I was laughing. I missed the actual pick. What was it?
Parasite.
Okay.
That was the one that kind of stuck out to me looking at the list from before, that I was like, of any of these movies that I hadn't seen yet, that was kind of, there were only like two others I was like, oh, I gotta see this, but that was one I was really disappointed I wasn't around yet for. So I know that's another pretty, that one won an Oscar too, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah, it was the
And
first
so
first foreign language movie to win Best Picture.
yeah,
Yeah, we had
I've wanted to see it, so we're gonna do that.
We had a bit of a themed conversation here today, and it was I really didn't like this movie the first time I watched it, but the second time it kind of grew on me. We had a little theme there. I wonder if we'll have some of that going on in this group, because as I recall, not everybody was a giant fan of this movie. So we'll see how that plays out.
Interesting.
It feels like an A24. I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's not, but it does kind of have like it's a unique
It
feel.
sucks.
Sure.
It's actually the other weird studio. It's Neon. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah, very similar.
That did come up today. Yeah.
Similar. Yeah.
What other movies does Neon do? Like, what are some of their biggest
Their
hits, I guess?
their most recent one that they put out this year was Longlegs.
Oh, right.
Anybody see that? No,
Not yet.
just me. Just
I was
No.
gonna go see it in the theater, but I didn't get a chance to.
Wanted to. My wife does not like scary movies. My daughter does, and so but she went with friends, and so I didn't get to be cool enough.
Yeah, that one's.
But I
that was
also
pretty
I heard
solid.
I don't know. I heard didn't necessarily live up to what it could have.
Yeah,
that's
fair.
I was considering pulling the go to a theater card this week, but just because we're doing the theme that we are, I wanted to actually go with that theme. But I really want to go see A Real Pain. With,
I
Kieran
actually
Culkin and
watched that.
Jesse.
I actually watched that today.
Yeah, good.
It's good. It's good. Not what I was expecting, but very good.
Hmm.
Kieran Culkin is fantastic in it.
Oh yeah, he's fantastic in everything.
That'll do it for this episode of the BTB Movie Club podcast. Thank you as always for listening. We know we enjoyed ourselves. We hope you did too. Have yourself a great week. We are partnered with the SPDM Crew Podcasting Network.